StatChat Skill 3, look at me. Organising your numerical data. Now, you'll notice that in Skill 2 we looked at frequency tables and dot plots. Here we're going to look at frequency tables a little bit differently, and we're also going to look at Stemplots. Alright? Now, your numerical discrete data can be ungrouped or grouped, whereas your numerical continuous data is always grouped. And we'll explain that as we go. Here you'll see we've got a frequency table of numerical discrete data. All right, it's discrete, they're whole numbers. It's the number of people living in their family. All right. This is ungrouped data because each result, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 5, 6, 7, and 8, they're all individually sorted. So they all get their own line on the frequency table. All right, we're not grouping any results together. They're all individual and by themselves. Now we've got some golf scores up here, 30 different golf scores, and these are quite large numbers. First, they've been sorted into intervals of 2. You'll notice that there's 2 results per line, okay? Normally, we would start here, all right, with a 0 and a 1, all right? But in this case, there was no score of 60 or 61. So when we sorted the data, we started with the next lot of 2, which was 62 to 63. Always start with an even number and go to the next odd number. So 62, 63 is together, 64, 65. Even though no one got a result of 64 or 65, you still include it in your table. Then 66, 67, 68, 69, and so on. Over here in the orange, you'll notice I've given you some advice. So first line is any data ending in 0 or 1, then any data in 2 or 3, then 4 or 5, then 6 or 7, then 8 or 9. And that pattern follows all the way through this frequency table. We could also sort these golf scores into intervals of 5. All right, the way you do that is get the scores ending in 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the first line, and then ending in 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 in the second line. So I've put those details there. Then again, repeat that process for the 70s and then the 80s. All right, so now the data is, we've got a frequency table here that's a little bit easier to manage because the data's been grouped together. Because we've got 30 scores here, which is quite a lot, all right, sometimes you might want to sort them into intervals so that they're easier to graph later on. There's one other way you can sort them out, and that's with intervals of 10. So you'd have all the 60s on a line, so anything ending with 0 through to 9, then all the 70s, and then all the 80s. All right, so we've got those into 3 categories, which is much easier to manage again. Remember to check always that your frequency total is correct and that you've added up your scores the right way. So 30, 30, and 30 all make sense because we had 30 golf scores to start with. A Stemplot is another way that we can display our data. All right, this is pretty similar to a frequency table, but it's got a few differences that we need to show. So over here on the left, the stem, that's like our tens or sometimes our hundreds, and that's where we put just one value. Sometimes it might be 2 digits, but in this case, they're just tens. And then the leaf, all right, sometimes these are called stem and leaf plots, are all the units that go on the end. The way you know what the values are is this bit here, the key. The key tells you that 2-5 equals 25 CDs. So that student must have 25 CDs. If they've got a 2, then the line, and then the 5. That stands for 25. So what all of these numbers are, this person has 4, then these are the 10s, so 14 and 16, then the 20s, 22, 23, 25, 28, the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. The person with the most CDs has 56 CDs, and that's that score there. The person with the least CDs has 0 in the 10s and 4 units, so that's 4 CDs there. They're the highest and the lowest scores. With a stem and leaf plot, we can sort these into intervals as well, like a frequency table. So we can have intervals of 10 or intervals of 5, and we can also have intervals of 2. I've explained these on the right over here as well. Intervals of 10 is what we just showed you, and this is another example here of heights of 30 students. If you do intervals of 5, you need to have them split over 2 lines, so anything ending in 0 to 4 and anything ending in 5 to 9. You'll notice that with the line ending in 5 to 9, you need to put a little asterisk next to the stem number, and that just shows that you've split it in half. And the asterisk always goes with the line ending in 5 to 9. All of this interval information is exactly the same as what we just went through with the frequency tables. When you create your stem plot, always make sure you follow these 5 steps over here so that we can read the data off your stem plot very easily. So make sure there's a title, a key, column heading, the data values are summarized, and keep the data as neat as possible and in order so that they're increasing from left to right. And that's skill 3 done. Boom!